2 home games and not a defeat to be seen. A much more positive week this week for the Spurs. We'll be talking about it all. And of course, we'll be reliving that goal. Don't go anywhere. This is the Crowing Cockerel podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Crowing Cockerel podcast. I'm here with the super predictor, Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hello, chaps.
And Mark. Hi, Mark.
Good evening, gents.
Right, so much better week. Started off with a really, really good performance against Copenhagen in the Champions League on Tuesday. Pleased for everybody that went, because it was really worth turning up and trudging after those, disappointing results at home leading up to this, to get to that game and see what was seen. I think everybody that made the effort fully deserved that. And some real positives came out of the game as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it reminded me, and I'd forgotten, that watching football was meant to be fun. And it was fun again. Like it was just this weird feeling at the end. It's like, oh, I enjoyed that.
It was chaotic, wasn't it? It was just mad. It was a mad game. It was like park football again, wasn't it? Brilliant.
I mean, there's nothing better, is there, than seeing a man sent off and then going 3-0 up and then seeing your other your other centre-back charging through in the centre-forward position. Thomas Frank must have been tearing his hair out on the sidelines, but yeah, absolutely loved it.
One of the things that we called out in the last pod was that feeling of attitude and energy in the players, and it was all there. He seemed to pick a properly balanced side. I thought it was strange that Paulina didn't start, but I think all of us have been saying we want to see a bit more of Sarr to have that energy in midfield. It just looks so much better. We all love Spence. Udogie on the left was very good. So that balance that we had and that energy that we were missing, it was all there.
Copenhagen, not great, obviously, not a brilliant team. But, they are one of the lower rated teams in the competition, probably as near to a home gimme as you can get. But you've got to beat what's in front of you. And we did it in the right way.
So Xavi, I think, had his best game for us. I think actually the Champions League, they awarded him man of the match. Odegaard was really good and looks to be that proper outlet on the left that we're looking at. Kalimwani made some great runs and probably should have scored himself. Fantastic assist for Odegaard.
Great composure,
pretty much made,
really, yeah.
Well, but he made the goal just by chasing down the keeper. Fantastic touch as well to bring it down. Beautifully passed back ball.
I don't like strikers that can't edit, but when he brought it down, I was thinking, why have you done that? Just nod it in the goal. But to be fair, the touch and the layback was good.
And Johnson was brilliant as well. But it was more that the sum of all the parts were working together, and we just haven't seen that this season, not enough at least.
It was
balanced. I think it's a numbers game, isn't it? I mean, Graham, you mentioned maybe in the last pod when we were talking about Simons, and you said it feels like at the moment every time he gets the ball, he has to do something special because there's nothing going on around him, and I think that was a very fair point. This week, what we've seen is it's a numbers game. If you get enough players forward into those attacking areas, that actually stuff is going to happen. And we have got enough good players that can make things happen. And just those passages of play that we've been crying out for all season, really, they started to happen. And again, as we've said, Copenhagen, they're not the highest quality team that we're going to play this season. They gave us the space and the time to do that. But I think it was the perfect game for us. It gave us that little bit of confidence. It got the fans back on side again. It created a real positive atmosphere in that stadium. And it's just what we needed to put the memories of that Chelsea game behind us, really.
Do we need to speak about the Van de Ven goal? Obviously, at that point, we're down to 10 men already. And you're just thinking one thing goes wrong here, and all of a sudden it gets very tense. They score, it's 2-1. And for him to do that in that moment, let's talk about the goal in more detail in a minute. But just I want to ask you, if that if that goal doesn't go in, if he doesn't score, do you think we struggle to see that game out in the way that we ended up doing? Because I think that goal led to almost like it completely relaxed everybody. Everybody knew that actually it was going to be very unlikely that Copenhagen were going to get back in the game. So if Van de Ven doesn't score that, do you think it would have been a slightly trickier result to see out?
Definitely, potentially. I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? You go down to 10 men, the other team, it's their window of opportunity. And I think, I'm not sure how
Yeah.
many minutes there were, probably 2 or 3 minutes, was it, after the red card?
50,
And all of a
pretty
sudden,
much on the hour, 57 minutes, I think it was.
yeah. And of course, we scored the fourth couple of minutes after that as well. So we didn't give any opportunity for Copenhagen to sort of get up ahead of steam and start putting us under pressure. That was the beauty of the timing of that goal. But yeah, it could have been one that started going wrong for us for sure if that hadn't have happened.
Yeah, it's a sliding doors moment, and you just don't know how it would have gone. I remember us being a little bit sloppy at the beginning of the second half. The Johnson red card almost came from that, really, because I think we gave the ball away.
What
and
did
it's
you
one of
think
those
about that red card? Because I know we kind of obviously we messaged each other during the game, and I felt it was harsh. I really did.
I think it's one of those that nowadays it's always going to be a red card because it was from behind. So the Copenhagen player was running away from him, couldn't see it coming at all, and he basically studied him in the back of the leg. It can be quite dangerous, that.
But there was hardly much force in it. There was like there was no force behind it. It was just like a dangled leg out, wasn't it? It was
He didn't even go studs up, did it? He sort of bounced off the ground and then
no.
up. Yeah, yeah.
I think it was a bit harsh, but once there's a question mark and it goes to VAR and they say, "Oh, ref, do you want to have a look at it?" I mean, it was only going to go one way.
Well, it's that still image, isn't it? It's what we've seen it before. They always they come to the monitor and they have that still image of them just waiting for them. That's the first thing they see, and of course that always looks bad. And it doesn't matter then when you roll it back. They've got that image in their mind, and I was disappointed with that decision, though, to be honest. But anyway, on to the goal.
Yeah, let's go back to the goal.
So the biggest question I have about this goal, because it's very. Have you seen the videos where it's compared to the Son goal?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a really big question that's coming out, and I think you know where this is going. What was the better assist, Palhinha or Vertonghen?
I'm gonna say hands down, Vertonghen.
Sorry, are we really pouring over the assist of the greatest goal that we've ever seen? Only on this podcast.
Everybody is going to be talking about how great the goal is.
No
This
one's
is
talking
our
about the
niche
assist,
moment.
Mark.
This is when we're going viral, Mark. Is because
No.
this is how
No.
different we're going to be.
Stop. Just
If you want to
stop.
put in the comments who you think
Stop.
gave the best assist. Okay, hang on. So you just said, Mark, that you thought that goal was the best goal we've ever seen. Do you mean in the Champions League, or you think it's better than Sonny's?
Yes, 100%.
It's
100%.
really weird how similar they are.
Yeah.
I think the videos that have been out and going around, but
I'll tell you why I think this one was better. If you're being ultra critical of the Son goal, he gets really lucky when he passes that centre circle. Like it bobbles about a little bit and he just rambles past them and then he's gone. But I'm not sure he was totally under control all of the time of that Sonny goal. Van de Ven, he was never out of control of that situation.
the brilliant thing about Van de Ven is that he is absolute quality. He has got a fantastic finish on him. But it was just mad how anybody would think a centre-back would ever do
Yeah.
that.
No, but he's got form though, isn't he? It's not like it's the first time he's done
He
it.
can finish. And we were there, weren't we, when he scored. It was one of the first goals he scored for Spurs, and he smashed it in the top corner.
Well, and the runs, he covers 50 yards so quickly, doesn't he? He's done that before as well.
When he it was Man United last season, wasn't it, with Old Trafford, that he
absolutely.
just squared it for Johnson. It was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, he can definitely do it. It was just brilliant, wasn't it?
We've been talking about Van de Ven on the pod for a fair few weeks now. Last week we felt like we had to maybe call out maybe his not so good game, but the more he does those contributions, with bringing the ball forward. None of us expecting him to score worldies every week, but it's such an outlet for us when he can carry that ball across that halfway line and take it past 2, 3, 4 players and start moving us up the pitch. It's why he's such a unique defender for us.
I have to say, though, my favourite part of that whole goal, and I don't know whether you've seen this angle, but there's an angle of the goal which is kind of from behind Vicario's goal, and you see Van de Ven charging away from the camera, and then in the foreground you see Udogie and Sarr both with their heads on their with their hands on their head about halfway through, going, oh my God, what is happening? And of course he goes and slams it in, and then Vicario bombs the whole length of the pitch to go and celebrate. It's just as everybody else on the pitch just became a fan at that moment, just watching this guy doing something superhuman.
Lucky enough to see a goal like that in the stadium. It's that build up of anticipation. Because you go, he's got the ball. He's got her. Yeah, he's got it. Go on. And then you realise, this could actually, and it starts getting quite serious. And then you think this could absolutely, and it's that bit. And I've seen the commentary, the TNT commentary that they did, and he was just chatting away. He was just chatting away halfway through. Absolutely about something random about something. I can't even remember what it was. And then all of a sudden they realised that actually, oh my God, this could be happening. It was great.
Is it going to be the Puskás Award coming back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? It's such an iconic goal, isn't it? Iconic goal.
Tottenham has just win the Puskás, because of course Son won it and then Lamela won it. It is our trophy.
It was a joy. I mean, we could have finished with 6.
Oh, we should have done. I mean, Kolo Muani should have had 3, shouldn't he? And if he'd scored that goal that was the tiki-taka jinxing and Xavi left it off to him, what a goal that would have been absolutely fantastic, goal as well. I was so pleased for Xavi as well, because he's starting to get some real confidence, I think, in terms of what he's doing, and he's starting to be tenacious as well. Again, we'll talk about the Man United game, but I thought he was really good in just getting at people. He won the ball back. He's physicality-wise, he's really improving, so that's good.
Yeah, no, really good, really good.
Well, look, while we're enjoying the afterglow of Copenhagen, I've composed a little Tom's teaser with a bit of a Danish bent. So how about it?
Let's do it. Just play that teaser. Jingle.
Tom's teaser.
So we've had a few Danish players play for us over the years. Obviously, we've had Højbjerg and obviously Alan Nielsen getting that Carling Cup winner. But our absolute fave, a certain Christian Eriksen, who of course played under Frank at Brentford when he came back from the heart attack stuff. So I thought it only right that we have a little quiz about Eriksen, legend of the club. So what I've got is I've got 10 questions here, and this is the way we're going to do it. Your names is your buzzers, and I'm going to say a number. Then you need to tell me what that number represents. So the number represents a thing related to Eriksen's time with Spurs. Okay, so we'll start with the first question. The first number, remember your name's your buzzer. The first number is 19.
Mark.
Go on, Mark.
Shirt number?
Incorrect. Graham, do you want to steal?
Graham. Debut for Denmark.
Nice, but this is all Spurs related. None of you got it. 19 was number of yellow cards. Okay, number 2, 23.
Mark.
Graham.
Mark?
That was his shirt number. I remember now.
Okay, number 3, 11.
Graham. That's the number of free kicks he scored.
No, that is how much we paid for him. Only paid 11 million for Christian Eriksen. That's mad. Okay, number 4, 88.
Graham. The number of times he hit the first man.
I was going to say the same.
We're trying to honour one of our heroes here.
That's exactly where my mind went to.
Unbelievable. You'd both be ashamed of yourselves. 88 was his number of assists for Tottenham.
Was it really?
So
wow. Be ashamed. Be very ashamed. Okay, question number 5. And the number is 2.
Graham. Is that the number of times he didn't hit the first man off a corner?
Okay, none of these are that. Mark, do you want to stab at that one?
Yellow cards.
You just did
No,
yellow
'cause that
cards.
was the first one.
Oh, did
That
we?
was 19.
Wow.
God,
Okay.
you can tell
Really
you guys have had a
listening to
big
this.
Sunday lunch. Okay. Question number 6, and the number is 2013.
Graham,
Yes,
is that the year we bought him?
correct. So at the minute, it's 1-1. Okay. Number 7, 305.
Graham,
Yes,
appearances for Spurs.
correct. That puts you in the lead. Number 8, 69.
Mark,
Yes,
I'm already regretting buzzing in because that sounds like a far too high number, but I'm going to go goals.
correct.
Is it? He scored 69
It
goals.
is.
He was a good player, wasn't he?
He was a really good player. Number 9, 0.
Graham,
Mark,
Oh, I've got to give it Graham.
number of red cards.
Correct. And you've got to be quick on this one. Last question. 24,110.
Mark,
Yes?
minutes played for Tottenham?
That is correct. It couldn't be anything else. So, at the end of that, you both got 3 each.
Wow.
Really?
You did.
Okay.
So that means we have to have a tie break. So I'm going to ask you both, and I'm going to ask Mark first. How many FA Cup goals did Christian Eriksen score for us?
I am going to say 7.
Okay, Graham, how many FA Cup goals do you think Eriksen scored for us?
I was going to say 6.
Ooh.
And that would be closer to the answer because it was 4. Graham, you win this week's Tom's Teaser, and that takes your lead to 5-3.
Tom's teaser.
I just want to make a point as well that Christian Eriksen is one of my absolute favourite players. Spurs.
Same.
He was absolutely integral to the way we played under Poch. And yes, the corners were frustrating and memorable in the wrong sense, but
Yeah.
for all joking around, what a player Christian Eriksen was for Tottenham Hotspur.
Brilliant player.
And how we could do with a midfielder like that now.
Yeah. No, he was our best player since Modric for me.
So, coming in, how did the Copenhagen game feed into our predictions, Mark? Because have you got the spreadsheet open?
Yes, of course. I've always got my spreadsheet open. So, yeah, Copenhagen predictions. We were all pretty positive, and we all said we were going to win. So it's 1 point for Graham, 1 point for Tom. But some of us were a little bit more optimistic than others. I said 3-0. I was so annoyed when Polina got that 4th in there because I also said that Brennan Johnson was going to score. So I get 2 points for that. And then moving on to the Manchester United, obviously a 2-2 draw. Graham, you correctly predicted the draw, so you get a point. I unfortunately said we were going to win, so I get nothing. But Tom, the famous Tom 2-2 draw prediction came in, so 2 points for you. So scores on the doors. Graham, you currently have 10 points. I have 12, and Tom is still out in the lead with 17 points. Well done.
Get in. Yeah, well, it was good to pick up, a point in our predictions game. I would have preferred not to. I would have preferred us to get all 3 points against Man United, and we were so close.
So close, but so much better.
We were, but at 80 minutes, I would have absolutely snapped everybody's hand off and my own for a point because we were going nowhere at that point. The ground was getting a bit toxic. The boos for taking Xavi Simons off were very loud. We'd had those 2 chances at the beginning of the second half, and then literally the game was just petering out. We weren't good at all. Odegaard needs a massive shout out for being dynamic, running at the fullback who isn't a fullback. So he managed to isolate it time and time again and really create something. But the one thing I think that absolutely changed the late second half was putting a doggy on and having a left-sided fullback. Because
Yeah.
I like Spence, I really do. Teams are doing to Spence what they used to do to Sanchez. He's not good on the ball in the defensive third because he's not able to get it out of his feet and pick a pass. So what Man United were doing, they were just waiting for Van de Ven to give him the ball, and then they would set the trap, and they would get the ball back. It would go astray or whatever. It's just time and time again. It's too obvious now that he is a problem in terms of his distribution. And I love Jed Spence. I think he's been fantastic, but we need to go into the market in January and get proper left back cover so Jed and Porro can rotate, because Porro's been overplayed again. I think he had a poor game on Saturday, and again, I like Porro. He's got a fantastic ball on him, but he just has to play every game all the time because of the injuries that we've had. And we need better quality to step in and cover that area.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, you said it was so much better, and I think it was better in the sense that we seem to be trying more to be creative. But part of me felt like it wasn't a good game, and I was watching parts of it back, and I realised actually there weren't that many really good chances. It did feel disjointed, and you know how much I like listening to Thomas Frank afterwards, and I try and catch as many of the post-match game stuff as possible. And I think he was asked one of the questions: "Are you still trying to find the right balance up front because you changed it again from the Copenhagen game?" He said, "Yeah, we are trying to find the right balance, but it worked against Copenhagen. So why did he feel the need to change again?"
I did understand his thought process that Man United have been poor defending balls into their box.
Yeah,
So we were almost playing a hybrid 4-4-2 at times, with Richarlison and Kolo Moranis really swapping around. It was quite dynamic, but we just, unfortunately, we were relying on Porro to put the ball in, and he just kept overhitting it. We got in good positions, and he would just overhit it all the time. His crossing was
Yeah.
terrible. So I don't think the setup was a disaster. I
no,
just
it
don't
wasn't.
think the quality was bad. I just think the quality was bad again. We weren't.
It wasn't a disaster. The fact was, it was changed again, and that's the point that's starting to sort of niggle me. But Mark's been saying for weeks, he doesn't know how we play. He doesn't know how we attack. And again, it felt like, oh, well, we're going to try this way this week. And I feel like that isn't helping us. I feel like for us to get any consistency up front.
But do you not think that it was better? Like, I completely agree that a lot of times the end product, the crosses were kind of overhit, or we were hitting the corners straight into the goalkeeper's hands. So I agree, the quality in that final third was not where it needed to be. But Tom, you've mentioned it in previous weeks about the tactics and just the mentality. Like, I felt that there was more of a positive mentality, more of an
Absolutely.
impetus to go forward. It
Yes.
felt like we wanted to play football, and I haven't felt like that's been my biggest thing in previous weeks. Is it hasn't felt like I've said it before. We've almost become an anti-football. We're just there to spoil. It felt like we actually wanted to play football this time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But what I am frustrated with is when, and it's proved the point, because when Odebear came on, the dynamic just went up another gear, and it felt like all of a sudden we had that balance back, and we were pulling the Man United defence further out of position. It gave Tell that space. It was a good finish. Obviously, it took a bit of a deflection, but he still found that space, got away from the defender, and got enough on it, and got us back into the game. I thought, I just felt like, well, this is great, but we could have been in this position 60 minutes ago. We could have been in this position from the start of the match. I don't know the reasoning why all that chopping and changing up front keeps happening. So, yes, intent was better, but I still have this question mark over Frank with regards to why he makes this decision about that over rotation up front. I wait to see what he does next. Injuries aren't helping us, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to start with that front three at the start of the game. I suppose you have to give credit for Frank because he did make the changes and it did get us back in the game.
Yeah, no, true. I mean, credit where credit's due. I agree. I mean, especially the fact that the Copenhagen game was on the Tuesday. So Tuesday to Saturday is not a quick or a tight turnaround. There's no reason physically why he couldn't have just played the same 11. And I would have liked to have seen that bit of consistency. But yeah, as I say, I think for me, definitely an improvement on what we've seen so far at home. I don't think we deserved the win, but again, just the positivity. I mean, you mentioned, Graham, that it was getting a little bit toxic before we got the equaliser. All of a sudden, we score those 2 goals. We're letting the late one in the last second, but it was still a really positive atmosphere. One other point that I wanted to make about that game as well, I was just having a look at some of the stats, and we gave Xavi a bit of a hammering last week, but this week, as you say, confidence and starting to look a little bit like the player that we hoped we would get him. One of the stats that I saw about him, though, is that he won the most duels out of everybody in the match.
He doesn't mind a tackle, does he?
I mean, you would not think it, would you, looking at him? And I criticised him for kind of his strength when he's got the ball. But yeah, he was the one out of everybody, because like you were saying, there were stages where the game had gone a little bit flat, but he was the one that was crunching into some tackles, and he looked like he was trying to inject a bit more urgency and fluency into the team. So I think that was really good to see, and I hope that he can carry on doing that. Obviously, we've got the dreaded international break, which once again kills any momentum that we might have. But yeah, let's hope it's a bit of a corner turned for him, and certainly the crowd warmed to him immediately, because let's face it, we all want him to be a success.
He's clearly putting in the effort. He hasn't had a brilliant start to his Spurs career. He's looked like he's struggled a little bit. He's certainly getting better. He's certainly getting more confidence. He's not shy on trying to get on the ball, and he takes responsibility. And that, to me, is a sign of a good player. And I just think it will take time for everybody to be good enough around him. One thing I wanted to say was, how much of a difference do you think it was not playing Polinia and Bentancur, but having Sarr in there instead?
Yeah, I think absolutely, it totally makes a difference. And plenty of times this season we've been waxing lyrical about Paulinho. He's a great player. I hope we end up making the loan permanent, because I think actually out of all those midfielders, he is by far the best at putting out fires and giving us that defensive solidity when we need it. So I'm all for playing one or other against teams where we think we should be on the front foot. I still don't have an issue with Bentancur and Paulinho playing together if there's sort of an element of control that we want to have in a game, maybe some of those high pressure away games perhaps, especially, and I'll make the point again, if we're feeling more confident about what's in front of them, about that front three and about how Xavi's coming on. But yeah, definitely let's make sure that we've got an outlet from that area of the pitch as well. And Sarr definitely gives you that.
Yeah, so I've got a little bit of a different take on that, to be honest, because for me, whilst I agree that Sarr brings energy, I was actually a little bit frustrated, and I think this will absolutely be from the tactics that Frank has put in place. But against United, we still played that double pivot, deep pivot, and Sarr was essentially Polinia's partner. And we didn't see Sarr pushing forward at all. Whereas you look back to Copenhagen, Bentancur played, and he was brilliant against Copenhagen. He was getting forward, he was getting into those attacking areas. So I think it's not necessarily the personnel that are in there. And I talked about last week, I really hope that we release the brakes. That's part of what I'm talking about. I don't think you need that really structured, solid double pivot to stay in those positions. It just restricts. And because again, that's part of the problem that we have, is we don't get enough players forward. If you've got Sarr in there, he is brilliant. He's endless, boundless energy, and you want him bombing forward, getting into that box.
And that
he's
was a
obviously
problem.
been told not to do it.
That was a problem. The midpoint of that second half is there was a number of times we were breaking and there was just no one up front because we were so deep and we'd get the ball in the transition and then Xavi or whoever it was would carry the ball forward and they'd be on their own. And you're like, well, what's he supposed to do with it? And actually, I think Xavi Simons got really frustrated at one point because he kept having to go back and he was like, why is there no outlet here? Where are you? And it's because they all have to go back.
So I really want us to, especially against United, we had more possession than them. We had 55% possession. So when you've got control of the ball like that, there's no reason to have those two stay in deep. And especially when you've got Sarr, like I say, he's got energy to go up and down the pitch all day long. So that was disappointing for me in the way we set up tactically. I would have loved to have seen Sarr bombing on and supporting those attacks a bit more than he did. But again, like I've said, I think it was much better. There was definitely more of a positive mentality, and let's hope that we can carry that on into future games.
I think, yeah, across the two games, lots of positive things to take forward. Shame about Kolomouani. It does sound like he might have picked up an injury. Just have to see how that goes.
I'm
But
gonna say something before I forget, because I think it's something that's been bugging me for quite a while. And with Kolomouani out, we are going to be more reliant on Richarlison. And Richarlison, bless him, he is so emotional. He's so up and down. And
Yeah,
I don't want to get on the guy's back, but there was still 6 minutes of injury time, or 5 minutes of injury time. It wasn't like he'd done a Van de Ven. If anything, if he ducked, the balls would have still gone in. And that's probably really harsh. But Odebert created that goal. And yes, it's a release of tension for him or whatever, but actually see the game out. Go and celebrate with your teammates in the changing room, like, because they're all really
yeah.
pleased for you. Celebrate with the crowd at the end. But he has this tendency, every single goal is like the biggest thing
Just won the World Cup.
The thing with the great strikers, they score enough that they don't have these moments that are so high and whatever. But secondly, I don't think Kane, for example, would have been throwing his shirt into the
No.
crowd.
He is a massive problem for this club right now, especially the fact, as you say, Kolomouani's out, Solanke's still not back. He is clearly nowhere near the quality of the centre forward that we need to move on. And yeah, he's the sort of player, like, if he played for another club, I would hate him. Like, he is just that sort of that personality where he winds everybody up. He spends so much energy on that side of the game, winding people up and just
It's so
being this
emotional,
brooding, sulking
yeah,
teenager
yeah.
type. Yeah,
Yeah.
and as you say, if you're going to do that and if you're going to put up with that, then you need to be sticking the goals in the back of the net. And
Yeah.
he's not doing that. And yeah, to have that reaction when it's just grazed off your shoulder like that, for me, it was embarrassing to see.
we need a goal scorer. I think one positive, trying to keep it positive, that we can take from the game is essentially Richarlison and Tell both scored. And if Moani is going to be out, we're going to need them both.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, as you say, we're trying to keep things positive, but we don't like to keep things too positive on this pod. And so just to try and balance out a little bit, I think we are well overdue the cockadoodle diss.
His hair's too long. He just honestly the ball in like a sponge pudding. Cockadoodle diss.
Who's got one this week?
Well, we've got a combined one, haven't we? We've been talking about the Copenhagen game, and a 4-0 win was absolutely fantastic to see. But what wasn't so good to see were the vast swathes of empty seats at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Capacity of 62,000 something. And the attendance, I believe, was under 50. I think it was 49,000. And of course, similar scenes for the first Champions League game against Villarreal as well. Yeah, what are your thoughts? Obviously, really, really tough for fans to be going and paying those ticket prices week in, week out, and then you've got these midweek games as well. And clearly, supporters have chosen to stay away. It's not a good look.
You've got to pick and choose, and the reason why I think this is a really good cockadoodle diss is because the reason why it's really disappointing is you can't generally get tickets for league games. So if you want to take your kids to the football, you can barely get a ticket for a league game, and it is just ridiculously expensive, because ultimately for 55 quid a ticket, taking two kids, getting their food, everything like that, it's a huge outlay for most people, and coming up to Christmas or whatever. And we've got to remember that Copenhagen are not a glamorous Champions League side. Why the club didn't think about this a bit more closely and thought, do you know what? Yes, it's Champions League, but Really, that's Europa League level, possibly even Conference League. What we want is a full ground, and what we want is for the people to be able to take kids and people to go for the first games or whatever. And hindsight's a wonderful thing. But imagine that being your first game. You've wanted to go, but then you see that goal and you hear that, you get involved in that. And I tell you, seeing it live is different to seeing it on TV. And you'll always have that, and you'll always think that could happen again. But the club could have done two things. First, filled the stadium. They've got all the food courts and everything like that, and got all the money from the food and all that kind of thing. But secondly, embedded into some of the next generation how great it is to go and see live football.
Actually, that could definitely have been a catalyst for young Spurs fans becoming sort of lifelong Spurs supporters who are who become Spurs season ticket holders. To think that we 10,000 Spurs fans missed out on seeing that's ridiculous. It's criminal.
But it's also they decided that they wanted to.
The point here is it's not a surprise. The Copenhagen game's been in the calendar since what, a few days after the draw. So the fact that they've approached it that way and not found a way of getting those seats filled, when it would have been probably clear a week, 2 weeks before that they weren't going to make capacity. I just don't understand how, especially now that Tottenham Hotspur is a stadium that does events. So the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium does gigs, does other events, does NFL. So the fact that we can't sell our own tickets and fill our own stadium for the main purpose of watching football, that does stick in the throat a bit.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, obviously, this year now with the revised format, 8 group games, 4 of them at home. So that's an additional home game to what it used to be like when we had the groups of 4. You used to only have 3 home games. And I remember when we first got back into the Champions League, they offered these ticket bundles, didn't they, where you could buy the 3 tickets, the 3 home games for a vastly reduced amount compared to if you were going to be paying the tickets individually. But there's nothing like that in place for this season. And yeah, it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. I mean, just to play devil's advocate, obviously the Copenhagen game was a category C. That is the lowest category ticket pricing that we have. But do you think there should have been a special consideration
I think it should have been
for lower prices?
If it was a League Cup game, it wouldn't have been category C. So a League Cup home game would be a special price. FA Cup isn't a category C generally. So the club can set a pricing structure, whatever they want.
And I think we've called out sort of how impressive we think we've been sort of with all the changes that they've made and how they're trying to back the club. I think we've all been behind how they're doing things at the minute. But when it comes to the ticket pricing specifically, it feels like that is where they're dropping the ball. It was one of the questions at the fan forum as well. They called out the Villarreal game. So absolutely, I feel like if we're going to diss something at the minute with regards to how they can genuinely support fans and give us the sort of the best experience and the team the best support, they will know well in advance when they're reaching some sort of metric about whether they're going to be sold out or not.
I don't know whether you've seen this, but they have actually reduced the match category for the Dortmund game. It was a category A, and they have reduced it to a category B. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably only knocking a tenner off the ticket. I don't know, but it is something that at least you just said, Tom. We've been quite positive about the management and the communication and the transparency, and they've said that listening to the fans is very important to them. And it seems like the penny has started to drop there in reducing that category down to a B. It's a start. I don't think it's enough, but hopefully, if we're lucky enough to get in the Champions League again next season, hopefully it's something that the club can learn from and give the fans a bit of a break in terms of the steep pricing that is currently in place.
It's difficult, isn't it? So I think the club needs to take responsibility in making sure the stadium is full and being proactive in doing that.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Like Mark was saying, if they're starting to look at it, fantastic. I don't see any issue with looking at where they can I know get some school kids in, or if they know that there's empty seats in there, not even thinking about reselling. Always more difficult on midweek games, especially evening games. So it's not an easy thing to fix, but it is something that we can do better at. And let's hope that the club are listening.
All right, well said. So we have yet another international break to spoil our weekends coming up, but do not fear, we will have our special mini bonus episode for you where we'll be looking ahead to the small matter of the North London Derby. So that's something to look forward to. Until then, let's hope that the little uptick that we've seen this week carries on and we can take that momentum into that huge clash. Until then, have a great international break, everybody. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.